The antebellum South is such a fascinating topic for many historians and history buffs alike. It was a time of high fashion, huge wealth, and booming industries throughout the southern United States. How did the southern United States come to have this type of society? The answer to that is simple: triangular trade. Triangular trade started hundreds of years before the mid-19th century, otherwise known as the antebellum period. This was a system of trade between Africa, the United States, and Europe developed during the Columbus era. Slaves were exported from Africa to the United States, where they worked on southern plantations growing and selling cash crops such as cotton, tobacco, and Louisiana's beloved sugarcane. From there, the raw crops were exported to Europe to be made into finished materials that were then exported all over the world and back into Africa. This was a vicious cycle that lasted for many years and directly contributed to slavery in the South and plantation life. The Mississippi River was the prime spot for sugarcane plantations to flourish. Its muddy bottom was perfect for creating bricks to build plantations with, and the land surrounding the river gave the crops the fertilization they needed to grow. Historically, sugarcane was a cash crop grown in the so-called New World. This would be the modern-day Caribbean, and it has a tropical climate. Louisiana's hot, humid, wet climate mimicked that of the Caribbean, and it was discovered that sugarcane could flourish here too. Oak Alley was one of the biggest plantations along the Mississippi River's banks. It was built by George Swaney along with the plantation's slaves for Jacques Roman in 1837. There are 28 live oak trees that make up the plantation's scenic entryway. This is how the plantation got its name, Oak Alley. The trees are reported to be about 300 years old. Oak Alley was home to Jacques and Selina Roman and flourished as a sugarcane plantation until the end of the Civil War. The prominent 28 freestanding columns support the front of what was referred to as the Big House. This is where the Roman family lived with their 3 children. The Big House is a grand mansion that sports some of the most beautiful architecture found in the United States. When entering the front door, this is the parlor and the hallway that you would see. The dining room is where the Roman family gathered for meals and hosted important guests. You can see a large fan above the table, which was usually powered by a pulley and a rope to keep guests and the family cool and free from bugs. The dining room is complete with a 128-piece china set that was custom made and painted in France and shipped to the plantation. Today, most of the pieces still make up the set. The sitting room in Oak Alley still sports the blue antique furniture today. Architecture in the Deep South during the antebellum period had to take into consideration the hot, humid climate. The windows throughout Oak Alley were designed to allow as much airflow through the rooms as possible for those hot summer days. Located in the master bedroom is a child's crib and a small set of table and chairs. This was quite common among wealthy plantation owners at the time. The white piece hanging from the top of the crib is a mosquito net. Young children were at a higher risk for contracting yellow fever and malaria from mosquitoes that made their way into the house at night. Even the children's rooms sported 4-poster beds. Usually mosquito nets would be wrapped around the bedpost for protection, and this happened in the adult rooms as well. No, the Roman family were not the only ones living on the vast grounds of Oak Alley Plantation. Jacques Roman had from 110 to 120 women, children, and men working as slaves on his plantation until the end of the Civil War. These slaves ran the plantation. Some, mostly men, worked in the sugarcane fields day and night to ensure a healthy yield of crops. While many women slaves worked in the fields as well, a lot worked in the house day and night to take care of the Romans and their children. Slave labor was the reason homes such as Oak Alley could flourish as much as they did. Slave labor was prominent throughout the South and especially prominent along the Mississippi River, where plantations produced millions of pounds of cash crops. This picture represents slave populations throughout the southern United States. Oak Alley came to an end in 1866 with the Civil War. In 1925, Josephine and Andrew Stewart restored it and raised cattle there. Upon Josephine's death, she opened Oak Alley to the public and had it established as a historical landmark.